As a prelude to the prize ceremony, we would like to invite Mr. Raghavendra Rao, CEO of Kaizen Hansai, to address the gathering and set the context for today's event. Can we have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as we have Mr. Raghavendra Rao joining us on stage.
Good evening. Once again, sixth year going, and a very warm welcome to all the distinguished professionals of manufacturing and the disciples of manufacturing in this audience. It's been a Herculean task, to say the least, over the last 6 years, not just to assess, but also to absorb the kind of changes happening in the industry and in manufacturing of late. Every 2 years, especially in the digital world, we find Indian companies of repute growing leaps and bounds. What you knew 2 years back is no longer, the in thing today, and that's something which we really would like to, emphasize. And is that the way going forward? I think the answer looks like yes. A combination of digital, a combination of, green initiatives, and that's something which looks like would be the way for the things to come. Having said that, today, as we are, assembled to, I would not say felicitate or recognize, as we assemble in a huddle to discuss and to, share notes, our experiences on manufacturing, it seems to be an appropriate time to mull over certain things that, have been happening and will be happening, and what we are doing to make it different. So, coming to the last point first, what IMI assessments? Now, we very strictly call it an assessment, as most of you who would have dealt with us would have been repeatedly told until you got bored of hearing us say that. So that's why it's called Integrated Manufacturing Excellence Initiative, and it's an assessment-based program. We proudly state that we don't use the word awards anywhere, except for the Global Kaizen Award, of course. We use the word initiative. We have a felicitation ceremony. We have medallions and certificates to be given, and that's for a good reason, because we believe that our core purpose of the IMI program is not to recognize, but to give pride to each company which makes a significant change in its excellence programs. We're talking about adding value to companies through assessments. Well, we do our part. We ensure that the 3 days of assessment on the site is as thorough as it can be by seasoned, thorough professionals. And we also ensure that it kind of points a path to your future. Now, when we look at what more we can do in the current year, what we have done is we, of course, besides giving a report within 7 days, and this time for all the sites that we have been to, it's a record that we have delivered the results, we have delivered the report and the summary reports and the individual reports on safe, green and smart where applicable within 7 days. And we believe that that job required a lot of commitment, and we hope that this report goes on to becoming a part of your future business plans. Having said that, we also introduced a point this year that we not only laid down the initial benchmark by means of a baseline score, but the assessors also predicted the scores for the next year. That is, not for the next year, but if they were to take action on the initiatives suggested by the assessment team, what can be the score that they can fairly expect in the next 9 to 12 months? Like a pointer, where you, like the great Deming always says, you can improve what you can measure, right? So if you can measure your score today, and if you can measure what your score would be after 9 to 12 months, and you know the path to it, that's something what you can take action on. So that's something which we have launched this year, along with an offer to companies that we can also help you in translating these assessment observations into projects through a focused 2-day workshop, which is based on the assessment report and how we can kind of, through a very systematic way, go to the root cause, go to the cultural issues, and effect programs, effect projects within your management team, the plant management team. So that's something called as Ignite to Improve workshop, which we have started this year. And going next year, what do we plan to do? I think that's something which I would like to, just talk about. I may not be too wrong in saying that you would not find too many CEOs in such manufacturing-centric functions. And that too because it's possibly only one site or two sites out of, the whole lot of sites. Going forward, we are going to be launching not only, we are going to continue with the site assessments per site for IMEI, but we are also going to be launching something called as the IMEI Corporate, which will enable a corporate to undergo the assessment as a organizational entity without having to go through assessment for each and every site. So it's going to be a mix of carefully chosen sites based on a particular algorithm, along with document checks for the remaining. So it's something we are going to be talking about to you as well in the coming weeks or coming months, and I think you will find it interesting. Having said that, last but not the least, we did something interesting this time, and I wanted to just share the results with you. And of course, today, our pet is, of course, the AI. So we fed all our reports into, a secure AI for the year, and we asked them, what is the kind of feedback you're getting? What is the kind of observations that you're getting across all the sites that we have assessed this year? So go through all the past history or whatever we have done, and tell me what are the points which come across as some things you would want us to mull over, or something which you would want us to communicate as a larger generic observation. Now here I would want to put a disclaimer. These are something which I'm just going to parrot as to what the AI threw out at me. So I would not be held responsible if somebody doesn't agree with it. Yep. So so here it goes. And I'll just read out the headings about what it told us as the 10 largest improvement points. I may not talk about all 10. I'll at least read out the 6 or 7 of them. 1, the industry still confuses activity with excellence. The industry still continues to confuse activity with excellence. That is the first point. Yep. Second, lack of real root cause thinking. Lack of real root cause thinking. So you do a lot of CA, you don't do PA, or you don't validate. So that's something which it talks about. Third, it talks about visual management and review cadence are superficial. Right questions have to be asked at the right time. That is something which it points out is possibly an area for improvement. The rigor of reviews and asking the right questions for those reviews is something which needs to happen. And then it also states that the 5th point is asset reliability is chronically underestimated. Asset reliability is chronically underestimated. And then it makes a very bold statement. It says that culture and ownership are the hardest problems to solve. Culture and ownership are the hardest challenges. And that's what I think most managements grapple with solving. Next point, supplier quality and escalation governance are immature. I think that's something which most of the people here, most of the professionals here will agree. Supplier quality and escalation governance have to mature in a much larger way. Then it speaks about factories mistake automation for excellence. Not necessarily true. Yeah? Factories may decide that automation is sufficient for them, but that doesn't mean that they are excellent. Yep. So factories mistake automation for excellence. And last but not the least, fragmented best practices, no enterprise level governance. So best practices are at most treated in a fragmented way. At an enterprise level, it has to all come together. And that's something which is stated as the last point for it to ask us to mull over and mull together. And that's something is what I would like to kind of set off the tone. Because today I think we are at a crossroad of inflection. Yeah, I remember even about 20 years back or 17 years back, I had made the same statement, 17% share of manufacturing of India, we should go to 25, blah, blah, blue. I think that never happened, but China took the highway and it went ahead. But somewhere today, we also again get a feeling that we are at possibly the same crossroads. not competing with China, but still we have the opportunity with a lot of political will which supports such statements. We have got the Viksit Bharat, we have got the Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have got PLI initiatives, we have got the Make in India logo, Make in India for the world as a slogan. And more importantly, we have got, I would believe, a set of bureaucrats who I think are committed to making it happen. And it is in the realm of this possible potential that I think whatever is pointed out in the previous few minutes gets us to really think what is it that we expect of manufacturing excellence and what is it that we need to do to be able to capture, to be able to ride a possible wave which is coming our way, a possible wave of manufacturing excellence. And I think to throw more light on this, I would like to invite our mentor at an organizational level as well as at a personal level, Mr. Vinod Grover, who is the Managing Director of Kaizen Institute, to please come on stage and deliver the keynote. Yep. So, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Raghavendra Rao, and a very warm welcome to all of you, although the room is very cold, but the welcome is warm. I was asked to speak to this illustrious gathering, and my dilemma was that I'm speaking to illustrious people who are already on the path to manufacturing excellence for a long time. What is it that I can speak about? Nevertheless, I've put together a few questions, some dilemmas. I'll not be providing answers. I want to leave some questions for all of us, something to contemplate on, something to think about. We are talking about manufacturing excellence. So many years back, I wanted to try and see whether there's a definition to this term called manufacturing excellence. Well, I don't know whether any of you found an answer. I did not. All I came to understand is that excellence is a moving target. It's a moving target. You don't reach. By the time you reach one level, the goalpost has moved. And if the goalpost moves, we have to redouble our efforts, and probably the next round is even more difficult. So when we move forward, we move, hopefully, one more step closer to perfection. And as we all know, perfection is unattainable. We can strive to move towards it. That's why Kaizen is continual improvement. Keep moving one step at a time. Make sure that the direction is clear. Now, as we all know, improvement requires change. And since we are talking of excellence, change has to be relentless, it has to be ongoing. And the pace of change is increasing. Pace of change of technology, of regulation, of customer demands is increasing. And I, a few months back, read a book called Same as Ever. I don't know whether any of you read that book called Same as Ever by Morgan Housel. He says, whereas the world is changing more and more rapidly, there is something which remains unchanged, something that has remained unchanged, is likely to remain unchanged for years to come. And because that becomes some kind of a fulcrum on which you can base your change management efforts. And the core of many points that he has brought about are human nature. He says, whereas things around us keep changing, the human nature doesn't change. We are still governed by envy. We are still governed by incentives. we still behave irrationally, and our emotions often overtake our logic. So what I wanted to share today is we have been working in India for the last 25 years, quarter century. This is our silver jubilee year. As we have kept working, we always found a few paradoxes, and I leave those paradoxes as a question, see whether we can get answers. So in this period, we have met, I don't know, at least 700 to 800 different organizations, possibly more. Now, our experience, paradoxically, is that most of the time we are called upon to help improve those organizations which are already better. And those who are, there's not even one word of excellence, not even E will qualify for those kind of organizations. They think they are good. They don't need any improvement. They don't need any change. That's a paradox. Excellent organizations keep looking for more opportunities. They want to move faster. They want to get assessed. They want to motivate their people. Organizations that are in the pits, they think they don't need to improve. We make money, we are okay. That's paradox number one. Why do we have this paradox? Unless we are able to address it, I don't know whether we will ever become an excellent country as far as manufacturing is concerned. That was paradox number one. I always grapple with yet another paradox. You know, all organizations have a hierarchy of costs. If you do an analysis of which are the biggest costs, in manufacturing organization, invariably, material is the highest cost. Number 2, 3, and 4 vary in some organizations, but there is one particular cost that always intrigues me. This cost is the cost of money, interest, that the organization pays off to the banks. And you'll be surprised, many, many times, the money that is taken away by the banks is higher than the entire payroll of the organization, and sometimes higher than what the owners, the shareholders, earn from the organization. Shall I repeat that? The banks get more from the organization than the shareholders and the employees. Not combined, but separately. And I think good management practices, excellence would demand that this cost be reduced. Now, although that seems to be obvious, but if I look at the hierarchy of costs and also look at the hierarchy of time the managers spend on managing those costs, there is another paradox. Although the manpower cost will sometimes be at number 3 or number 4, may generally be in single digits for many companies, the highest management time is spent on manpower productivity, manpower issue, IR issues. Somehow this appears to me be a paradox which I have not been able to understand. If we spend same kind of effort for reducing material-related costs, improving yield, reducing inventories, reducing rejections, and save 1% of the 70% material cost, the returns would any day be much higher than what you'd get by saving 5% and 10% from manpower cost. Paradox number 2. Paradox number 3. Change happens when people change behaviors. Let me illustrate this. All of us know, for example, all of us intellectually know, we have been told, we are educated, awareness, that if we are driving on the road, we'll be all disciplined, everybody will have a good time, provided we follow the rules of traffic on the signals, overtaking from the left or the right. We know intellectually, but our behaviors don't reflect it. Excellence comes from implementing what we know into behaviors. And this is true at organization level also. There are so many, for example, safety. It doesn't come from knowing safety protocols, it comes from behaving with safety protocols. Now the paradox is this. Management will spend 80% of the time in creating awareness and training and information, sending out circulars and so on and so forth, but they will do so little about managing behaviors. What is the paradox? 80% of behavioral change comes from management of behaviors. 20% of performance change of results come from antecedents, from preparation, training, awareness, etc. The paradox is we spend almost the reverse. 80% of effort on antecedents, 20% on behavioral management. This is paradox number 3. Paradox number 4. There are only 5 that I'll talk about today. Organizations are composed of teams. If I go to stores, there's a team in the stores. If I go to a production line, there's a team that is responsible for a process. So eventually, you can, even if you divide organization into process-based teams, all the outcomes come from team performance. And it's a common statement that we make that we have to improve teamwork in order to become excellent. Now, if I study all the performance management systems that the organizations use, 90% of the performance management systems are individual-based performance management systems, and very few are team-based performance management systems. This is the paradox number 4. I'll come to the last paradox. You go to many organizations and the approach to excellence, to improvement, can be described as chasing the next fad. You know, a few years back, it used to be that we are doing TQM. We are chasing the Deming Award. We are doing TPM and we are looking for the TPM award. Some organization will say we are doing digitalization. Now, to me, all these are fine. They are proven technologies. They have to be brought into play. But eventually, why do we manage organizations? What is the definition of excellence? We want to improve outcomes. We want to improve results. And depending on which process we are using for improving results, we have to choose the tool. There's the cart before the horse. We choose the tool first and decide the business outcomes later. I don't know whether I'm making sense. I'll do TPM. To me, the right paradigm is I decide what is the performance outcome that I want to improve and then choose the right tool to help me get there. Not to choose the tool first and then find out where to apply it. This is the paradox number 5. Of course, the current fad today is AI. Everybody wants to do AI, and I always have this question. I quoted Morgan Housel as I began. He says human nature has not been changing. My question is the focus on artificial intelligence is right when we still have so much of natural stupidity living within us? Let's try and see whether we can get some good questions. Thank you very much. Hopefully I can discuss with you later and see whether we can get some good answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grover.